I stole the design strategy of the fastest growing clothing brand today. I'm going to show you guys exactly how to design like that while exposing some industry secrets along the way. Today we'll be designing like Val lives forever. So breaking down the 5 key rules into having a better design. We got type, focus/theme, color, placement, and finally the finesse and bringing it all together. Let's go ahead and get locked in. So this shirt will be a little bit cropped, actually more traditional than cropped. So for the width, we're going to go 3,200 and height 4,000. Ensure our artboards are selected and create our document. First, let's go ahead and start with our type. Custom type is king, but here's a secret. Graffiti fonts often give you that streetwear hand-drawn look without all the extra steps anyway, but don't overlook fonts/type that matches your theme of your design, as you can utilize them later on different items like a secondary logo. And I'm gonna show you guys exactly how to utilize this for our jeans later down the line. The font I'm using here is called Next Bravo. It's a little bit stylized, but not too much, so it gives us room to make any changes. Right click, rasterize your font layer, and then I'm going to go in using the magic wand tool, select each layer, and then press layer via copy. This is going to create an individual layer for each font letter, and then we're going to go ahead and use this to create a cool design. Again, we want the feeling like our font is hand drawn, so having each individual letter is going to give us the ability to customize even further. Go ahead and delete the original layer, and then go ahead and rename all your layers to the corresponding letter, so V-A-L-E. We're going to go ahead and start with our first letter, which is going to be V. Right click and head over into blending options. Now in blending options, I'm going to go to my styles and I'm going to look up the ATL motion layer styles. Now these are available on my website, but I'm going to put up all the settings so you can go ahead and copy this for yourself. We got our drop shadow, we got our gradient overlay, we got our inner glow, we got our stroke, and then we got another stroke on top of that. Go ahead and just pause and copy these settings as you see fit. And that's the gradient settings. And let's go ahead and ensure that we have a bit more on that distance regarding the drop shadow, just so we can have a bit more of a dramatic effect. Same with this stroke here, and press OK. Following that, we're gonna go ahead and right click and copy this layer style. Go ahead and select your layers, holding shift and selecting the bottom to the top, right click and paste layer style. What this is going to do is it's going to apply the layer style to each individual letter that has an individual layer. Now, this is why I love layer styles, because they essentially create designs within minutes. Let's say you have a logo and you just want to add a quick text effect to it. That's what we call a layer style in Photoshop. Now what I'm doing now is I'm pressing Command T on my keyboard. This brings out my transform tools and it allows me to warp each individual layer with each individual letter on top of it. Again, having that custom feel without the extra work. Now that's just part 1 of our text done. We're gonna go ahead and do 4 more parts to bring this design together, so follow along with me. Let's go ahead and select everything, press Command G to group it, then right click and convert that into a smile object. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and press Command T and then warp. Now this is gonna allow us to make a custom warp for our text that's gonna lead into our next point, which is gonna be framing our theme/main object. Again, if you don't want to do anything custom, you can go ahead and go into the top left and go to warp, and it's gonna come up with a bunch of presets that you can use with your design. Today, we're gonna go ahead and use Arch because it's gonna be the perfect transition into part 2 of this design. I'm gonna go ahead and press this tick to confirm it, and I'm just gonna go ahead and press Command T and just do any final adjustments that I see fit. What we want is we want to basically frame our main object, which leads us into part 2 of this. Understanding your theme/focus point. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the layer with our font on it, and I'm gonna go ahead and go into magic wand, go to select, and make sure I put cloud on that drop down arrow and then use select. Now this is going to go ahead and create almost perfect selection within Photoshop, and from here I can make any adjustments by pressing Q, which brings up this mask mode, and go in with a black brush to remove or white brush to add. Once I'm happy, I can press Q again, which is going to bring it up as a selection, and then just go ahead and create a mask. Now this is the prompt that I used to get this image. Following this, I'm going to go ahead and right click and convert this into a smile object. Then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that layer, making sure that my colors are reset to black and white. And then I'm going to go ahead and go into filter, then filter gallery. Once I'm in filter gallery, I'm going to go ahead and use the stamp tool. Why I'm using the stamp tool is I basically want to get rid of the whole AI glossy look that most AI images have. And the best way about going about that is adding in your own line work, either hand drawn or using the stamp tool to kind of dial in the numbers that you want to get the perfect hand drawn or hand color that you see fit. I'm really liking how this looks here, and you can go ahead and just copy my settings and then press OK. Following that, we're going to go ahead and add in a new layer. With this new layer, we're going to go into select, color range, and ensure that you're on shadows. Copy settings, press OK, and go ahead and grab the paint bucket tool and fill that layer in with black. Go ahead and delete the layer with the stamp filter on it, and we can go ahead and go to the original, go into filter, noise, add noise, and then just go ahead and put some noise in. From here, we can go ahead and go into our adjustments and go to threshold and add a threshold on top. Now this threshold on top is, again, just to get rid of the whole AI shiny glossy look that most AI have. I'm going to go ahead and set it to overlay, and from here I'm just going to go ahead and drop down the opacity a bit, and now we have a perfect image for our graphic. We're going to go ahead and turn our text layer back on, and from here you can see the design start to come together. Obviously we don't want the threshold effect on our actual font, so we're going to go ahead and right click and create a clipping mask of the threshold onto the original layer with the crocodile. Now you can see the design come together. Now we are making a design inspired by Val Lives Forever, and you can see that they've made a sports design. Actually, they've made many sports tee designs, and this theme kind of works perfectly within their design and whole brand output. I want to frame my design a bit more, so I just created this little star in Illustrator, and I'm going to go ahead and paste it into our document within Photoshop. You can steal a star from the internet if you want to and just cut it out that way. I just find it cleaner when I make it myself within Illustrator. Next, I'm going to go ahead and just make duplicates of the star and press Command T and just arch them to make a sort of curve, again, to frame our main focus of our designs. For this last one, I might just bring down the size a bit, and again, you can see the frame starting to happen. We'll head over into my favorite options, which is none other than blending options. I'm going to go ahead and add a stroke and another stroke. Now, for the first stroke, I'm going to go ahead and set it to the outside, and the secondary one, which is going to be my white stroke, I'm going to go ahead and set that one to the inside, and I can just make that a bit larger. And the stroke on the outside, which is the black, I'm going to keep that one the same. Next, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I can see all my effects, and I'm going to go into our drop shadow. With the drop shadow, I basically want to create a 3D outlook, just like how we have Val on the top with our font. And you can go ahead and just copy these settings, and you can see here as I tweak the design or as I tweak the effect, you can see the design starts to take shape. Once you're happy with that, copy layer style and then select the rest and paste layer style on the other two. Bam. From here we can go ahead and just select those, group them, and drag it to the bottom. And then we can go ahead and duplicate that. We can go ahead and just right click and flip vertically, which is going to create a perfect mirror on the other side. If that was a bit confusing, all I'm doing is just copying the group, pasting it, and right clicking and flipping it, and then having a perfect mirror on each side. Right now, our layers are looking a bit messy, so I'm going to select our main crocodile and group him so we have a bit more order and we can move around things and make any small adjustments comfortably. Now, what do you notice here? You notice that the colors of yellow and blue kind of clash, but also complement each other, almost like a football team. And that's exactly what we're doing here. Again, that leads us into point number 3, which is colors. Colors are very crucial because now we've already gone through 1, 2, and 3. Now we have to talk about my favorite, which is what we call placement. As you can see here, I'm going through Val and how they have their logos and designs placed. Main reason is we want consistency within the brand identity. Even though each design is unique and different, there's a sort of consistent theme or pattern that you see within Val and all their t-shirts, whether it's grunge, whether it's the color, whether it's the noise. But what I consistently see with them, and you can see it here with all their designs, they have a large front placement that takes up about 85% of the front real estate on the t-shirt. So we're going to go ahead and ensure that we have that. I'm going to go ahead and grab this image of an NFL field, and I'm going to use this placement to fill the rest of the real estate on the t-shirt. Obviously here we only have 2 main elements here, the text, and then we have the main/focal piece. Now we need to focus about the background and the foreground. So how we're going to do that is we're going to use something that relates to the theme and tie it in together by creating the same effect that we put on the main image, but for the background itself. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this NFL due to copyright, and I'm just going to go ahead and use the lasso magnetic tool to go ahead and select this. And once I've selected this, I'm going to go ahead and right click and use generative fill in Photoshop and just press remove, or you can just go ahead and do this manually, but generative fill will just get this done quicker. Even if there is a small error, it's easier to fix. I don't know why Photoshop does this, but often when you use generative fill, it makes a new layer and it's extremely annoying. So we're going to go ahead and select both the new generative fill layer and the original layer that we have here. And we're going to right click and group those and then convert those into a smart object by right clicking and converting them into a smart object. And now we've kind of been over this already, but again, like I said, we're going to go ahead and just select this proportion of the design and just mask it out. Reason being, it's going to be a lot easier to cut out later because we know where the bounding box is because we created it. From here, I'm going to go ahead and create a duplicate of this layer. And the reason why we're creating a duplicate of this layer is we want to go ahead and copy the exact same settings. So filter gallery, go ahead and use the stamp tool and play with the settings as you see fit. Obviously, your image will have different lighting and different shadows. So again, play with these settings until you're happy with the way your design looks. Now this time I'm going to be a bit lazy and I'm just going to change the blending mode rather than cut out the black layer from the stamp tool. So I'm just going to go ahead and set this blend mode to overlay. Just like before, we'll go to adjustments and add a threshold. Now this threshold is only to affect the background layer, and we're going to go ahead and change the blend mode to match the main design. Just for that final touch, we're going to go ahead and go to filter and add some noise to that background image. And then voila, we have images that kind of blend together naturally, even though we're not intentionally trying to blend them. We're essentially 70% of the way there. What we want to do now is, you see this mask that we have, we're going to go in with a brush. Now this can be any brush, but I'm using the Waving Water brush set. I'll leave a screenshot up here. This exact one that I'm using from Divine Art. And I'm going to go ahead and use one of the brushes in here, which is either the cloud brush, which I really love, or the one right next to it. And I'm going to go ahead and create a sort of mask around this backdrop. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, you've seen me do this before on many designs. Again, what we're doing here is just framing the background so it looks more complete and matches the rest of the design. Obviously, if it was just a rectangular cutout, that would be fine, but it looks a bit unfinished. By having it in this way where it looks like the crocodile is jumping out of a dream almost, brings the whole design together. Some key tips: white is to add in and black is to remove, especially when it comes to masks. That's why you can see on your mask, you see the black parts and you see the white parts. The white parts are visible, the black is invisible. Using that logic in mind, go ahead and remove parts that you see fit or add parts that you see would add to the design. Now, considering how far we've come in such a short amount of time, you can see how much this design progressed just by using those little small elements that I talked about. Next, I'm going to press T on my keyboard and bring up the text box and add in some byte text. Now, the byte text is going to be the word state. Now, in my head, all I'm thinking about is that meme of the guy saying, "This ain't state, this is private property. Lock him up." Anyway, I really like this, but I don't like the font. We have to have font consistency, whether that's in variable fonts where they match or fonts that are within the same family that blend well together. I'm going to use this other graffiti font here, and I think it works perfectly. I just need to drop down this kerning within the font settings so it's a bit more closer together rather than doing it manually like we did before. Right click and let's head over into blending options, and from here we're going to just play with the settings. I'm going to add 2 strokes, which is going to be white and black, and I'm going to add a color fill, which is going to match the stars. So essentially what we've done here is we've copied what the fill is on the stars, and that's what we've added here. Again, make any adjustments that you see fit that brings the design together. I strongly suggest that you guys have a play within blending options because these things really elevate your designs. I rave about blending options and gradient maps because those things I consistently use within Photoshop. Now, you have here a complete front design. What's missing is something on the back. Val often has items on their back, if not a design that wraps around the whole t-shirt, which is a good selling piece for your clothing brand. It often elevates the value of your t-shirt because it's more costly to make a t-shirt like this that prints on front and back with full color. Let's go ahead and click the artboard tool and add in a new artboard, and let's go ahead and start working on the back. Now, consistency matters, so I'm going to use claws for the back graphic so it ties into the whole crocodile theme. I'm going to add in those claws, I'm going to bring up the image, and then I'm just going to go ahead and add in a new layer and use the color range tool to select and fill in that new layer with black to essentially cut out the design. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go to the original front design and grab that V from Val. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this over, close the smart object, and paste it. Now I'm going to go ahead and position this so the claw is basically scratching into the V. Furthermore, I'm going to add a mask to the V, and I'm going to go in with a brush and basically cut out where the claws would be to sell this whole effect. Again, I'm using the Wave and Water brush set. I'm using just brushes that matches the pattern of a claw. So because this V has a layer style on it, any sort of effect that we make within the mask, the layer style is going to try to warp around, and thus it makes a very effective scratch. So now I'm going to be using the polygonal lasso tool to go ahead and select around the fingers. And essentially what I'm doing is creating a shape that I'm going to fill in and color. Once I have my shape closed, I'm going to go ahead and grab a color from the actual crocodile. So just using the color drop or eyedropper tool. And then from here, I'm just going to grab a soft brush from the general brushes. And with this general brush, I'm going to ensure that it's set to dissolve, which gives us those little half-tone dots, which make it easier for our designs to be printed on DTG. I'm a bit lazy, so I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate the layer with the already printed nail. I'm going to go ahead and just paste it over here and warp it to my best of ability and remove any excess using the eraser so I don't have to color each individual nail. Let's go ahead and grab the Val from the front design, and we're going to just place it over part of the V so we have a bit more consistency, and we're putting branding everywhere, because with these designs, especially when they're design heavy, you want to focus on heavy branding. And that's just a saying from late Virgil, who said you want people to be walking billboards essentially. And this is the best way to do it. Have a sick design with branding everywhere where people can't miss it. Continue to bring in elements from the front to the back. So those stars, I want those to be at the front. I'm just going to place them all over design in separate areas. And then we're going to go ahead and use consistency. So using the same font that we used for Val on the jeans later to make these sick camo shorts. So next, we're going to go ahead and select everything on layer 1 and group it. Once it's all grouped, we're going to go ahead and add a mask. And now with this mask, we're going to go in within the clothing brand toolkit and use the textures or texture brushes to add textures. Now I have these textures separately, or you can get them within the clothing brand toolkit, which I highly recommend. And I've been using it for the past year, building these designs for you guys and showing you guys how to use them. And this tool works perfectly within Procreate and Photoshop, which is amazing. Essentially what we've done is we've created a texture within seconds, and let's go ahead and do the same exact thing for the back. So just make the group, and we can easily just drag the texture that we have from the front to the back by copying over that mask and dragging over the texture so it's in the right spot, and bam, we have a texture on our design front and back. Now I'm going to go ahead and use this halftone texture from Texture Labs. I love Texture Labs. 100% free, highest quality textures. You can't beat them. And I'm just going to scale it all the way up. And I love this texture because it makes all my cartoonish sort of designs complete. All we have to do is just send the blend mode to color burn, and you can see how much of a difference this makes to the overall graphic. Now underneath the texture, I went ahead and added a curve just to add some more highlights. Next, I'm going to group everything once again and add a mask. Now with this mask, we're going to only select the highlights using the color range tool. And we're going to cut out those highlights because we're printing on a white t-shirt. Happy with your selection, press OK and use the paint bucket tool to fill in that mask with black, and then that will remove any highlights. Doing the same for the back here. So select color range, highlights only, press OK, go to that mask and fill in that mask with black. Now, if we go ahead and turn off the color background for our actual artboards, you can see how much of a cutout it does using just those whites. So anything that's remotely not white, it will leave because it adds to the design. But any highlights we'll just remove because that's how vintage t-shirts were printed. If they could save money on color, they would. So I'm going to be building the mockups in Illustrator using the Tech Pack 2025. These can be found within the clothing brand toolkit. And I'm just going to be using a nice, simple boxy tee because it's going to be easier to color and we want the design to be the main focus. Let's say you print this design on like a button up. I think it would do crazy numbers, but let's focus on a tee for now. So I'm going to find my tee, copy it and paste it within my new document. We're going to go ahead and select our live paint bucket tool and then we're going to head over into our swatches. Now within our swatches, we can go to our color books and click CMYK Pantone Uncoded. Now to get Pantone Uncoded CMYK color books, you just need to search it up on YouTube. I legally cannot show you guys how to do this because it's against the law. Anyway, selecting my CMYK uncoded Pantones, I'm gonna go ahead and just find a color. I want this t-shirt to be cream, and using the live paint bucket, you can go ahead and select any closed shape and just paint it all. That's why I love using it for making mockups. Again, just a summary, you get your mockup, you select it all using the direct selection tool or the selection tool, and you're going with the live paint bucket to fill it in. Next, I'm gonna head over into my libraries because that's where I saved my designs. I often save them in libraries, but you can also export it as a PNG in Photoshop to import it into Illustrator. And you can see here the design fits nice and well. But for me personally, for the mockup alone, I want it to be a bit wider. So I'm just gonna hold Shift and warp it. I do not recommend doing this. I'm just doing this as an example to fit this boxy t-shirt. You should be around here, but Val also has a way of adding a bit of extra steps or a bit of finesse to their designs to make themselves stand out. Where everyone's doing screen print, they'll do screen print and add a sort of camo pattern underneath the print somehow in the cut and sew manner, or add stripes from like a jersey to match the theme of the design. And that's exactly what we're doing here. I'm gonna go ahead and go in with the pen tool and just draw some stripes. And I'm just gonna fill those in using a yellow that matches the design. The pen tool can be found in the toolbox to the left, or can be found just by pressing P on your keyboard and bringing it up. Next, I use direct selection just to clean it up and then fill this in with yellow. Again, it's the little things that bring the whole t-shirt together. It's all the little finesse. You can see that these little two stripes really elevated the whole tee. I'm gonna go ahead and just duplicate them, right click, and then just flip or slash reflect in Illustrator, and then it's going to create a perfect symmetry. Now we can just select both of them and bring them down for the back, and bam, we have a tee. But I have one more thing up my sleeve. I want to add rhinestones to Val. First, we need to create a path for the rhinestones, and I basically want the rhinestones to just circle around the letters. So I'm going to go in with the actual pen tool and just do a rough outline of the letters. I'm not focusing on any of the details in the middle of the letters. I'm solely focusing on the outline. Something around here is perfect. Next, I'm going to pull out my gemstone pack. Now, don't worry, these are also brushes with Procreate, so you can go ahead and use these in Procreate as well, and you'll just have to hand draw the gems themselves. But in Illustrator, you create a path first. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just setting the size of the stroke because that affects how big the gems are and the placement of the gems. You could also just edit the actual brush by double clicking where the gem is within the brushes. So I'm pretty happy on how this looks here. And I'm pretty sure we could just fill this out by adding a bit more gems, but you could also do this by just using a simple gray dot. So just go within the ellipse tool within Illustrator, fill it in with gray. Once that's done, I want you to go press add on the brushes and add a scatter brush. And then from here, I want you to just adjust the settings and press OK. Now, after you've done that, you should have a brush that's going to be little dots. And that's about it. That's how you do it. All you have to do now is adjust your size to match the brush or the dot that you created. Let's say I put this one up here. You can see that the dots are starting to form, and that's how you make a sort of gemstone brush. The pack also consists of PNGs, which have all the actual gems in a high quality 4,000 DPI sort of scan. It's kind of insane. You can go ahead and drop them on any sort of mockup in Illustrator, Procreate, or Photoshop. So I went ahead and put them all over the tee, just dragging and dropping and duplicating left and right. I'll make the t-shirt black so you guys can see it better, but this is what we're looking at right now. We've got rhinestones on the type Val, and then we have rhinestones coming out of the t-shirt, almost like he's like running through the rhinestones, which is a cool look. Time to work on some shorts. We're gonna go ahead and start with the camo pack, and I just got it from this here. Unless you're doing a lot of MOQ, using a generic pattern is your best option, as manufacturer will have fabric with the pattern already on there, especially that classic forest green camo. The camo will populate within your swatches. I'm gonna be going ahead and using this camo here. With the camo selected, head over to edit color, and then from edit color, go ahead and change color or change color artwork. And then from here, I want you to select the advanced option, and from the advanced option you can go ahead and select different colors here, or you can go ahead and use the color books to select your color, which is a little bit more advanced, especially if you are going to print. From here it's pretty self-explanatory. Where it says color next to order, you can go ahead and select how much colors you want, but it auto detects how much colors are in the artwork, and you can go ahead and change colors that way, which I would strongly recommend, so you're not adding random colors in there that don't blend well. But once you're happy, press OK and finalize your colors. We should be ready for the mockup. I'm gonna head back into the 2025 tech pack found in the clothing brand toolkit. I'm gonna go ahead and copy it and paste it within my new file. And from here, I'm gonna just move it around, and then I'm gonna start adding the actual pattern to the shorts. I'm going to be using clipping mask to color these shorts, so let's go ahead and select this and make a duplicate by holding Alt and dragging down while selected. And then I'm just going to go ahead and use the live paint bucket tool, any random color, and fill in these whole shorts. I'm making sure every single little bit is filled in. Once that's all filled in, go to Object, Expand, press OK, and then use the Pathfinder tool to bring all the line work together so it's just one big shape. Next, I'm going to make sure there's no little open gaps, and then we're ready to grab our actual pattern and then put it underneath our shorts. From here, make sure it's nice and scaled, and then you want to go ahead and select the shorts and the pattern at the same time. And once those are selected, I want you to go ahead and right click and make clipping mask. And then it's going to make a clipping mask of your pattern for your shorts. Arrange, center back, and now you have a perfect pattern for your shorts. The reason why I do it this way is so I can make adjustments quickly rather than having to fill in with live paint bucket every little section with the pattern. Now, using the exact same font, again, like I said, that we use for the t-shirt, we're gonna go ahead and type that font within Illustrator. So that's just Next Bravo Val. We're gonna right click, and then we're gonna create outline with our font. Next, I'm just gonna go ahead and play with this font, make sure it's touching. So it's gonna be easier to turn this into a patch. Select everything, use the Pathfinder to make it one shape, and then go to Object, Path, Offset Path. And from here, I want you to set your offset to what number you want. I'm just gonna set it to around a 4 and press OK. From here, I'm gonna go ahead and change the colors of our actual offset so we can see what we're doing. Now, you see this? It's going to be an indication for a pattern. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and change the inside color to a color that matches the outside. Just a nice little mustard yellow and a lighter mustard yellow. I'm gonna go ahead and add a stroke to the inside, so the original, and I'm gonna go ahead and select our diamond or gem brushes. Using the eyedropper tool, I'll select the same size that we put on the actual t-shirt, and then voila, we have a mock-up of a patch with a bedazzled outer line work. And it's simply that easy. That's why it's so crucial that you use fonts that can be utilized in different pieces. If you don't want to do that, you can go ahead and use a custom font, and that could be done too with this. It's fairly simple. I don't know if you guys have seen those capital pants, but I made one of the gems very similar to the capital pants gem. I'm going to go ahead and grab that gem, and I'm just going to position it along the sides of the pants, only at the front, so we can get a nice unique look to the pants themselves. And I'm really liking how that's looking. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and just position the Val back into the crotch area. And I'm gonna go ahead and move these to the other side, right click and transform, reflect. And now we have a perfect symmetrical pant. Now heading back to our tech pack, I'm gonna go ahead and grab some pockets. I tried these ones first, but I really didn't like how they looked. These are mainly back pockets, but I just wanted puffier pockets. I'm gonna go ahead and just use the classic cargo pockets, as they work perfectly fine with this. With that being done, all we have to do is kind of reflect what we've done to the front, to the back, mainly to have consistency and also to continuously have that design language that follows the whole branding behind Val State. My first point of reference was just to add lives, so it's Val Lives Forever, And I'm going to go ahead and just right click, create outline, and then do the exact same thing we did with the front and just bring these these letters closer together. And then from here, I'm going to use the pathfinder to make them one shape. Nothing crazy, just some simple positioning. I want them to like almost wrap around the inner thigh, if that kind of makes sense. I'm taking reference here from like FUBU, early 2000s jeans, where they were very heavy back graphics. And I really want to bring that to life in this piece. So just go to Effect, Warp, and then I'm just going to use the arc here and just warp it. And then I'm just going to go use the bounding box or the transform box. And I'm just going to go ahead and warp it again till I'm happy. And it's really cool when it's a live warp. You can move it around and the warp will affect how the actual type looks. But once you're happy, just right click, go to expand, and now you have expanded shapes. From here, I'm just going to go ahead and separate them and have each one, so vowel on one side and lives on the other side. I want to communicate with my manufacturer that this is going to be embroidery. So I'm just going to select these two and use the eyedropper tool to select the line work from the pockets. And then it's going to create an embroidered dot or dotted lines for our design. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go to Object, Path, Offset Path, and then just a simple offset, same as the front, number 4. And I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I change the color. And now we have an embroidered front or embroidered back graphic for the back of the pants, which looks really cool. I'm definitely doing a bit too much, but again, I want consistency throughout the whole piece. So now we have stars on the shirt. I want stars on the actual pants themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the star that we used to make the front or the front t-shirt graphic. I'm just going to go ahead and offset it as well. So Object, Path, Offset Path. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy the exact same line stitching that we used for the back. I'm going to go ahead and paste that on the front for the star. From here, I'm just going to go ahead and position the star all over the shorts, just so we have consistency. So instead of yellow text, instead of blue text, we have yellow text, but we have blue stars. So we just reversed the actual colors from the t-shirt, but put it on the shorts. But it works because it's still consistent in 1, the font, and 2, the styling, and everything comes together. This is why consistency in branding really matters. And you can see it come together because the pieces are not meant to be a set, but they work together as a set because of all the similarities that we've used in the design. So this is the final design. Honestly, I give it a solid 9 out of 10, meaning the shirt. The shorts, I personally would wear them, but they're 100% up the alley of Val Lives Forever. Make sure to tell me what you guys think about the designs. How did it look? Would you rock them? Would you use them in your brand strategy? And I'll see you when I see you. Peace.